4 years of working hard, making memories, and creating bonds that will last a lifetime, you're finally able to walk across that stage of graduation. You look out onto the floor of Littlejohn at the classmates that you made over the years, and you begin to realize that the people staring back at you are not the complete class that you met at orientation just 4 years prior. But who's missing? According to a 2017 study by the National Center for Education Statistics, nearly 20% of college students have some type of disability. But 25% of those students will leave college after just 1 year, and only 40% of those students will receive their degree within 6 years. As a college student with a disability, I know how isolating it can be to attend a university that does not accommodate your existence. Today, my goal is to persuade my audience that the ADA should be the floor, not the ceiling, of expectations set at Clemson University. We will discuss 3 things: the problems students with disabilities face, the root cause for these disparities, and what Clemson should do to address the accessibility crisis on campus. To start, let's cover some of the hurdles that people with disabilities face. Although the ADA protects against discrimination, these harmful effects still exist in all facets of life, including education. A 2020 article published by the American Psychological Association said, a literature review on implicit attitudes towards people with disabilities found that moderate to strong negative implicit attitudes to people with both physical and intellectual disabilities. And these included the implicit attitudes of healthcare professionals. Implicit attitudes create a negative barrier to equal opportunity, which is something that is learned and upheld by society, ultimately making it difficult to control from a legal standpoint. A 2020 study conducted by EDUCAUSE found that nearly 1/2 of students with disabilities do not register with their university's accessibility office, and that 1 in 3 students do not have positive responses to how their institution supports their need for accommodations. Students in the study discussed how the stigma of disability keeps them from applying for services, and some respondents said that have anxiety about contacting their disability services office, are uncomfortable, embarrassed, or afraid of being turned away, not believed, or being labeled. These inclusion and accessibility dilemmas still exist despite the ADA, indicating that the current document is insufficient to actually make an equitable society. Now that we know some of the problems that people with disabilities face, let's unpack the potential causes of these issues. Many of the stigmas surrounding the disability community are based on social avoidance, stereotyping, and condescension. A current article by the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center website says, people with disabilities may be left out of social activities, or may find that their friends become more distant after developing a disability. People may be hesitant to make eye contact or start a conversation with someone with a disability. Social avoidance can be taught at a young age accidentally when parents teach their children not to stare at people with disabilities. Now, I completely agree that it is considered rude to stare, but this actually ends up teaching children not to engage with people with disabilities, which can also be equally as harmful. Stereotyping can lead people to assume that people with disabilities are helpless, unable to care for themselves, or unable to make their own decisions. People with one disability, such as a speech impairment, may be presumed to have another disability that they don't have, such as an intellectual disability. Condescension, which is often done with good intentions, means that people with disabilities are coddled or overprotected due to the incorrect perception of helplessness. I've personally experienced this as someone with a disability, whether it be a stranger coming up behind my wheelchair and pushing it without asking, someone talking to me like I'm a child, or only addressing the person pushing my wheelchair when they're asking questions about me. Students, faculty, and the administration at Clemson also possess these thought processes that lead to physical and social barriers on campus, despite Clemson being, for the most part, ADA compliant. With the cause of the problem in mind, let's cover solutions that can combat these stereotypes at Clemson in order to make our campus more inclusive. As students at Clemson, we have the power to make our school more accepting of people with disabilities by redefining our own idea of disability. You can be an ally by working to make campus more accessible by reporting barriers and demanding Clemson go beyond the minimum ADA requirements. Clemson's current Student Accessibility Services website says, your accessibility concerns will be treated with confidentiality and sensitivity. To report physical or technological barriers to accessibility, please complete the barrier report form on the website. Barriers include, but are not limited to, directional signs behind overgrown shrubs, uneven sidewalks, a handicap bathroom stall without railings, an interior door that requires more than 5 pounds of force to open, and incorrect physical or printed digital information. I encourage you to start looking at our campus through the lens of somebody with a compliance, or ways that Clemson can go above and beyond the minimum requirements of the ADA. Once you know what changes should be made, I encourage you to reach out to our administration and speak up so we can make the difference that we really need to see. The ADA cannot undo the implicit biases that we were taught at a young age, but you can become more understanding of the disability community by joining organizations such as Tigers for Accessibility, also known as T4A. The current Tiger Quest website says, T4A is committed to creating a more inclusive and accessible environment both on campus and within the greater Clemson area. In addition to hosting meetings, workshops, letter writing campaigns, and fundraisers throughout the year, T4A is responsible for an annual Accessibility Awareness Week, and I encourage you to check out some of the events. Attending even just one of the events is an easy and actionable step towards learning more about disabilities and being able to socially interact with the community on campus. In conclusion, the ADA is a document that should be viewed as the absolute bare minimum to make society more inclusive and accepting. Despite its passing, students struggle to find a community at college, where discrimination unfortunately dominates. Equality gaps are caused by physical and social barriers that are rooted in stigma and misconceptions that will never be solved by the ADA alone. Instead, the solution rests in our own hands. The next time that you see someone with a disability or an accessibility barrier on campus, I encourage you to think about this speech and how you can be the difference on Clemson's campus. Start a conversation and make a friend. Speak up and make an impact that will last beyond your time as a student. Together, we can make a difference at Clemson, defy national statistics, and walk across that stage at graduation as a complete class.